I'm thrilled this evening to have as my guest Jim Floyd. If you don't know the name Jim Floyd, then you probably haven't been in Mercer County for the past 80 or so years. Jim Floyd is a mentor, an advocate, a philanthropist, and basically a defender of what's right with the human spirit. Jim, welcome to WIMG.
Bill, thank you so much.
Jim, you've been an inexhaustible voice for people throughout the community. And I want to take you back to your early days here in Trenton. You were born and raised here, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
And tell me about being born and raised and what Trenton was like back in the day.
Well, let me surprise you a bit. I was born in 1922 in the industrial section of Trenton that's known as East Trenton. And in those days, there were at least 10 or 12 factories around the street that I was born on. My mother was originally from Georgia. Her father, my grandfather, was a minister. My dad was kind of an early, not an entrepreneur, but he was a go-getter. My dad was involved very much in the church in Trenton. He was also involved in organizing politically in Trenton. And I guess a bit of that rubbed off on me.
Well, I should say so. For those who don't know, Jim served as the mayor of Princeton Township. And Jim, that must have been a very interesting time in your life.
It was a real honor. I first served on township committee and then served as mayor. My term was cut a bit short because I was promoted with my job and I had to transfer to Cleveland. So it was a little difficult to commute and be a mayor in Princeton Township, but I loved it.
Speaking of Cleveland, let me throw three names at you. One is Tom Bradley. One is R.O.W. Wilson Good, and the other is Carl Stokes. Do you know what those three have in common?
Yes, they're all my fraternity brothers.
They're all your fraternity brothers. They're all Kappas.
And I met them all, and I've been on some programs with some of them.
And they were all mayors of cities.
Absolutely.
So we're going to be getting into talking about Kappa Alpha Psi and the founding of the Trenton Alumni Chapter that you were intimately involved with. The Trenton Alumni Chapter is sponsoring the 83rd Northeast Province Council, which is bringing together Kappa members from 10 states and a couple of foreign countries too, to the Westin in Princeton on the weekend of March 15th, 16th. And there are a number of events, and if you've never been to a Kappa party, I have, and I guarantee you, you won't be sitting down very much. It's a great place to socialize, meet folks, and if you're interested in attending, you don't have to be a Kappa to attend. But
no, you don't.
If you're interested in attending and meeting some great people from around the nation and around the world, why don't you give Doug Smar a call at 331-6471, and he'll hook you up with tickets. That's Doug Smar at 331-6471, and I'll repeat that a little later on. So how many province councils have you attended over the years?
Oh, my goodness. I've attended just about every province council since my initiation in 1942.
1942. Let's go back there. Let's go back to the Trenton area chapter. Is that when?
Well, the Trenton area alumni chapter was chartered in 1949. I was initiated in 1942 at West Virginia State College, and I was initiated by a gentleman who's internationally known by the name of Leon Sullivan.
Oh,
Leon
the Reverend Leon Sullivan.
The Reverend Leon Sullivan.
Economic Opportunities in Philadelphia.
He wrote the Sullivan Principles.
Absolutely.
That became the guidelines for American corporations who were investing in South Africa. Well, Leon and I were very good friends. In fact, the first province council we had in Trenton, I convinced Leon to come and be our guest speaker. But I've been a Kappa since 1942. And we organized the Trenton Alumni Chapter in 1949. And prior to getting our charter, we kind of worked together as a group. We didn't have a charter. We attended province council meetings, and we started our outreach work in and around the city of Trenton.
Let's talk about that outreach work, because I know that's blossomed nationally to such mentoring programs as Guide Right. But why don't you talk a little bit about what you've done throughout the city and throughout the
will.
region?
Surely, I'd love to talk about that. You mentioned Guide Right. Guide Right is a national program. There is an expectancy that each chapter in the fraternity should have a guide. Each alumni chapter should have a guide right program. We have a wonderful guide right program under our president, Brother George, Harold George, and we have some of our mentees have come back to serve as mentors for their younger brothers.
I think it's what the young folk call paying it forward.
Well, that's true. That's true. And it's really rewarding. I, for one, have always had that interest in our Guide Right program. In fact, some awards that I've received at the province level had related to our local Guide Right program. And I'm just happy to see that the current members of the fraternity are carrying on with that. It means so much to young folks. My mantra is you can talk and teach, but role models are really the best way to motivate youngsters. It's easy to be a critic, but try to be a role model, and you can be much more influential with a young person.
When you think about the impact that you've had on the Trenton Alumni Chapter of Kappa and the impact that Kappa has had on the communities that Kappa members serve, what kinds of things would you like to say now to parents who may be having a child who would be going to college or who's in college about why Kappa might be something interesting for them to look into?
Yeah, let me then refer to my experience early on. I joined Kappa because of men like Leon Sullivan, because of the registrar and the dean. They were Kappa men. And while they, kind of respected the guys for being good athletes and good socializers, I'll tell you, when the marking period came out, they looked over our grades and said, this ain't going to cut it. You've got to do better than that. And I would urge, really, a young man and a young woman, if she's interested in a sorority, to look at those who have come before her and who may be her mentors and look at what their sense of values are. And if those sense of values are consistent with yours, someone you admire in that context, try to find a way to make the association. Now, they will weed you out if you don't meet their criteria as well.
What a great way to end our conversation. And that's great advice for parents of children who are going to go to college to look into service organizations that can
Absolutely.
help them grow. And for parents in Trenton, if you have younger children, I want to let you know that Children's Futures has just opened up its newest Parent Center at 16 West Front Street on the second floor at Suite 220. If you'd like to find more information about how to read to your child, how to best discipline your child, how to understand the ages and stages of your child's development, give us a call at Children's Futures at 695-1977. The program is free, and we'd love to have you come and learn about being the best parent that you can be. And also, don't forget, coming up on the weekend of March 14th, 15th, and 16th, particularly March 15th and 16th, there's a Kappa weekend kickoff party on the 15th at the Westin. There's a big event, the Crimson and Cream semi-formal on the 16th.
That's a tradition.
That's a tradition, and it's a tradition like no other. And you can find out more about getting tickets and joining these festive events at 609-331-6471. That's 609-331-6471. I want to, again, thank Jim Floyd for being our guest today on today's topic here on Trenton Talks. It's been an honor to have you, and I know that our listeners have gotten so much from hearing you and
Bill, thank
learning
you
from
so much. Thank you so much.